Hello, knockouts. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in, everyone. Welcome. Hello, knockouts. Tonya T. Where's the camera? Sorry. All right. Tonya Tko here, and today we're going to be talking about Charlize Theron's Effeminate son, the feedback that I've been seeing online, and basically the general hatred that we have of the feminine. So we're gonna let people come on into the live broadcast. Come on in. I'm going to be publishing this video in several different places online, and so we're going to start the conversation here, and then we're going to continue the conversation as we go forward throughout this week, or at least today we're going to continue the conversation as we go forward, because in America, who knows what the next conversation is going to be like. It's like you think that you'll be talking about something for a few days, and then the next thing you know, next day Trump has done something, and then there's no more conversation about what you originally decided to converse about. Hello, Reese. How are you doing? Welcome. Come on in, everyone. Come on in, and let's get this party started, right? Let's get this party started quickly. Let's talk about Charlize Theron. I don't know how many of you saw the image that's floating around on Facebook and on other places around the internet. Basically, it's Charlize, who is a Caucasian, I believe she's from South Africa. Don't quote me on that. She's a Caucasian actress who's famous in the United States. She adopted two black children, a boy and a girl. The boy is about 6 years old and the girl is maybe about 1. Okay. Yesterday, he's about 6, anywhere between 6 and 8. And somebody correct me on that age if you know it. All right. So there's this photo floating around, and she's holding the boy's hand, and they're walking, except in the photo, the boy appears as a little girl. He looks like a girl. He has long braids in his hair, and he has beads. And he, so Kim is saying, wait, that was her son? Yes, this is what the controversy is about. This is what the controversy is about. So yes, that was her son. And so I want, listen, and if there's somebody who's brave enough to come on to the broadcast live to speak their opposing opinion, I'd be more than happy to have you onto the broadcast so that you can speak it, because the way that I feel, I think it's okay. And I actually think that it's very brave. I think it's very brave of him and his mother to buck against the system and conduct themselves in a manner that feels best for them and their family. From what it is that I hear, good morning everyone who's coming in, good morning. From what it is that I hear, the boy used to throw fits being placed into certain types of clothing, typically what we consider to be boys' clothing. And the boy would rebel against it. When you see the picture of this child is beaming. And I'm going to tell you some of the comments that I've seen, as well as my general stance. I do not believe that clothes determine sexuality or gender. I believe that clothes are just something that you adorn on your body, and I actually think that it's embarrassing some of the things. Hello, Cherise, thank you. I think it's embarrassing some of the things that I've seen adults saying about this child. Now, let's start by talking about if this child were a girl about the same age and were dressed in clothes that we typically consider to be boys' clothes. I mean, we have terminology for that. We call them tomboys. Why is it that when it comes to a boy dressing in clothes that we typically consider female, why is there this lashing out? There's no talk of, oh, this is just a phase, they'll grow out of it, oh, it has nothing to do with anything. Why is it when a boy dresses in clothes that we consider to be typically female, and when a girl dresses in clothes that we consider to be typically male, that we don't have the same outlashing? And I think that is part of, I think it's part of the general hatred that we have nationwide, from country to country, the general hatred that we have for femininity. We've learned over the years from the way that this world has been colonized that might is right and that power and aggression reign supreme. Okay, so let's go to my first point. One of my first points is when it comes to clothing, what it is that we consider to be for boys and what it is that we consider to be for girls it really depends on the society that you're in. And I implore everyone to travel more, get outside of your typical comfort zone because, okay, so Kim is saying she went through the typical tomboy stage and her parents were fine. And she's saying that she's on the fence. Okay. So I implore you all to travel because I've been across the world. In Scotland, they wear skirts. When I was in Muslim countries, the men had on these things that looked like dresses and they were white. They were made of thin material and they looked like slips. They were walking around holding other men's hands. And there was no talk of why are you wearing a skirt or a dress or all this, that, and the other. My father, when he got married, he had on some frilly ruffled shirt and he had on heels. He wore platform heels to his wedding. And this was in the 1970s. And if we're going to talk about the 70s, what type of hairstyle did Stevie Wonder have in the 1970s? Did Stevie Wonder not have braids in his hair with beads on it? Did he not? What about Ashford and Simpson? Let's talk about Prince. Prince was very effeminate and people didn't question his sexuality. But for some reason, we look at this boy with clothing on that has butterflies on it and all of a sudden we're like, oh, he likes clothing with butterflies or clothing that cinch at the waist, and then now all of a sudden he's quote unquote gay. The person is too young to really know their sexuality. They're just a child. And for that particular child, that child prefer soft cotton clothing with bright colors on it, with some designs on it, and some of those designs being butterflies. And I want to know what's so wrong that if a male child likes butterflies, what is so wrong with this child liking butterflies? I want somebody in the audience to answer. And I want to say, first of all, if you guys have not seen this documentary on Netflix, it's called The Mask You Live In. I believe it's on Netflix. If not, it's a documentary called The Mask You Live In. I believe it's on YouTube. You can find it. Just Google it. And it talks about the toxicness in which males in today's society are raised, where the only acceptable emotion that men can exhibit is anger. That the way that listen to this. One of the quotes that one of the guys, remind me to come back to this quote because Roger is saying, okay, so Sharice is saying that's true, typical double standard. Roger is saying it's a shame because it all boils down to our society being heteronormative and very patriarchal. And Jay is saying preach. Okay. So there was this quote inside of the documentary that said, and it was by a black guy, he was speaking it, and he said, if you tell a young boy that he is a girl or he's acting like a girl, and that would destroy him, that saying that he is like a girl or behaves like a girl, if that would destroy him, what are we teaching boys about girls? And I believe that a lot of what it is that we're teaching boys about girls is that girls are weak, girls are lesser than, girls are here for your use. A lot of the ways that men exhibit their manhood and their masculinity is by how much they can use and abuse and discard women, not by the ways that they can support, honor, love, cherish, and uplift the feminine. This is why I think that there's no greater disdain that we have in this society than for a man who is feminine. Why? And some of the comments that I heard, I want to make sure that I go through this. Oh, before I forget, Greek warriors, the gladiators, they wore what we would consider to look like skirts. Why is it that then all of a sudden in our society today that we would have these aversions to men wearing things that they wear in other cultures and customs without being bashed or lambasted? And even if they were to wear feminine clothing, what is the harm in a person expressing what feels good, comfortable, and natural to them? Let me go on. There was this guy who came out, and I invited him to the broadcast, but I have not seen him show up yet. There was a guy who came out and said that he felt that us allowing boys to be effeminate is what's going to destroy our nation. And I'm like, oh, on the contrary, if you look at what is destroying our nation and our neighborhoods, let's talk about it. Come on, let's talk about it. We got violence, wars, rape, mass shootings. We got abuse. We got abandoning, destruction, and encroaching upon other people's personal space. And all of these things exhibited by the toxic masculine. Here we go. Brad is saying yesterday was being said that Charlize Theron's picture is a hoax. It is supposedly a picture of her and her adopted daughter, not the son. No. And I don't know if that makes you feel any better. That is her son in the photograph. Her daughter is a young child. That's her son. And so that picture is actually quite old. This is not something that's new. This is just something that's resurfacing. So no, it's not a hoax. This is her child, and this is what her child chooses to wear. Past the age of 3, children have an idea of what it is that they want to put on and not want to put on. And I think that inherent in children is a wisdom that exists that we crush and stomp out of them. We think because they're smaller than us, or because we pay for their food or we pay for their clothes, that they don't have a voice, they don't have a right, they don't have decision-making power for free will and the direction that they'd like to express themselves in this life. We beat it out of them, and then we wonder why we have broken adults. So if you want to talk about what's destroying our society, these mass shootings, the violence, the general toxic masculinity that runs rampant, the toxic masculinity in this country, the misogyny and this patriarchy that elected Donald Trump, the ones that are going back and forth between nations talking about nuclear weapons. It's already been stated. Listen to me. It has been stated that if this world is going to survive, if this world is going to continue, if you look at where we are right now, with climate change, with the destruction of our rainforests, the tearing down of trees, the poisoning of animals inside of the ocean, the slaughter of animals on the land, that if this nation is going to survive, that is going to take the rise of the feminine. It is going to be feminine energy that is going to save this nation. When we talk about what is destroying this and many other nations, it is not the effeminate man. It's not the effeminate man who likes to express himself with soft, fine fabrics. It is not the effeminate man who likes to do hair or dance or paint art. It's not the effeminate man that's destroying our societies. It is this skewed version of toxic masculinity where there's no room for anything other than violence, aggression, encroaching. And speaking of encroaching, why does it disturb us so much that this boy would want to wear soft clothing? Why does that disturb us? This is somebody else's life outside of us. And then somebody said, oh, if all of the men are feminine, who's going to protect the women? God, you know what? I was about to use some profanity. Doggone it. Answer this. If all of the men were effeminate, who would the women need protection from? I want you to answer that question. If all of the men were effeminate, what would women need protection from? And it's funny because the very thing that a lot of these men are saying that women need protection from, it's men. It's the toxic masculine out here who is beating people over the head. Oh my gosh. 96% of women who are murdered by men. Men who they were romantically involved with or married to. 96%. Another 4% are murdered by their family members. So I'm like, and Mary is saying, I like what you're saying right now. Darlene is saying nobody's protecting them now. Darlene, thank you. Who is protecting the women now? Who is protecting them now? So it's like, okay, you know, let me make sure that I make all of my points. People are already saying. So Siobhan is saying, you make all the sense. Some of these men can't protect. You speak in all truth. Right. But my thing is, and then the thing is that all men won't be effeminate. There will still be masculine men. Why is it that we don't give men latitude to be able to express? If a man, I remember Snoop Dogg had his nails manicured. It was shined. Snoop Dogg had his nails manicured, and then people started talking about how Snoop was gay and a bitch and a bitch ass nigga and all this. Snoop Dogg, who rapped those lyrics. What was the lyrics that he rapped? It wasn't ass down, face up. What was the lyrics that he rapped when he was when he was going inside the house? He was going. It was like old 1993. He went inside this house and he was like, "Oh, bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. Suck on the balls and something a dick. Something. I ain't. Well, give me some of those lyrics." He's Snoop Dogg, who rapped some of the most abusive, misogynistic, disgusting lyrics against women, had his nails manicured 4 years ago, and then people were calling him gay. Why is it that we can't give men the latitude to experiment with colors, to experiment with designs? When did all of this happen? Because in the 1970s and 80s, if you look at some of those singers and dancers, look at Prince. If Prince were to come out today, would he be as famous as he was back in the days? And so Rod is saying you're absolutely right, Queen. And Michelle is saying more people are concerned about a child choosing to dress in traditionally feminine clothing than they are women being disrespected, raped, and killed. If I could do a standing ovation on this broadcast, I would. When it comes to a person like Bill Cosby, who ran rampant in the industry, raping and pillaging anything and everything that he could get his hands on to destroy, people stand up and defend him. Oh, he was trying to buy NBC. Like, he couldn't just make his own network like Oprah, if that were the case. And then to refute all of that, Bill Cosby admitted in deposition to raping. It's like we expect for abusive people to use the language, yeah, I abused. No, they engage in abusive behavior. According to what it is that Bill Cosby said from his own mouth during the deposition, he admitted to having sex with, not having sex with, because sex is consensual. He admitted to penetrating and having intercourse with people whom having intercourse with women whom he did not get consent from. Before he drugged them, he did not get consent to drug them, and he had intercourse with them anyway. That's rape. He doesn't have to use the words R-A-P-E. He only has to describe non-consensual intercourse. That's rape. Rod is saying it's sad but very true. The person who I invited to this broadcast who didn't show up, he asked me whether or not I would date a man who were dressed in skirts and all of this other stuff. And that's a really good point. And it brings me up to my final point, and then we'll get into discussion about anything else that comes up. It brings me to my final point. It's not about me. It's not about me and what I would like for myself and my man. It's not about me. It's about my respect for another individual to express themselves as they see fit. That's what it's about. It's not about what you think of this person. It's about their right to exist as they see fit. This is not about what you would like in your life. This is about the respecting of another person's right to take up space in the ways that they choose to take up space consensually and not harming anybody. It is about them. And I feel that it's important for us to be able to advocate for people in fights where we have no vested interest. I am, and then people started asking me whether or not I was transgender. Especially since I'm not transgender, this conversation is even more important. Because I don't have a dog in this fight. I do not. I gain nothing. I gain nothing from this. And my last point that I'd like to make is black people. I'm going to talk about black people. Darlene is saying the fear of the mother energy is feared. Any man that worships and respects the balance of feminine energy is a real man, exclamation point. And we have to start with the greatest lie ever told. Women did not come from a man's side. We are the creator and the carrier in our wombs, in our bodies, the womb. Yes. You know what? Man has skewed. You know what? I'm so glad I'm doing this live because you guys are coming up with points that I didn't even think of to put down in my notes. Man has skewed this world so much that he has people thinking that woman came from man's rib. You know what? This reminds me of the argument about how white people think that they're the master race and the originators of all when they don't realize that they are let me not say that. That they are not a defect, I don't know the word. It's a switching of the genes. Have we ever seen, what's the word? Have we ever seen evidence? Have we ever seen evidence of black people, of white people giving birth to black people without African DNA? Have we ever seen evidence of that? Have we seen evidence of black people giving birth to white-skinned children? Yes, without any Caucasoid DNA. Yes, we have. Yes, we have. Did you know that original Africans are Homo sapiens? And that Caucasians are the Neanderthals? Original Africans have no Neanderthal DNA. I'm just going to leave it at that. Have we ever seen evidence of a man giving birth to a woman? In all our days, have we seen evidence of that? In all of it, it's like we're not using our rationale. In all of the evidence that we have seen, women are the ones who bring forth new life into this world. And the early humans were most likely androgynous. They were most likely able to reproduce without... They were most likely hermaphroditic. This is what I've heard from someone who was a theologian. So let's read Darlene. Darlene says, yes, the right to be. I've always told my daughters, you don't have to rah me being a lesbian, but you do have to respect my right to be. Okay, so Darlene is a lesbian, and she's holding her space in this world with a right to exist. And Michelle is saying, it's precisely the masculine that is responsible for the woes of the world. I just finished talking about that, girl. In matriarchal societies, there's harmony and have all what they need. Oh, yes, honey, let's talk about it. And Fauzi is saying my eyebrows are lopsided. Leave my eyebrows alone. Now you can't see one of them. Leave my eyebrow. I painted them all in a rush today. Jay is saying Caucasoid and crying. That's the proper term. There are only 3 races: Caucasoid, Negroid, and Mongoloid. Some people call Hispanic a race. No, that's an ethnic group. They're not a race. Neither are Native Americans. Well, Native Americans fall underneath the Mongoloid, the Asian. So it's Caucasoid, Negroid, and Mongoloid. I wasn't saying that to be a joke. Luna is saying Lilith was created simultaneously with Adam before Eve. Eve is a symbol of submission. Lilith represents liberation. And Rod is saying no evidence of that. You know what? I've heard about Lilith. The first time that I heard about Lilith was in True Blood. So I don't know as much as I could about her, but from what it is that I hear, Lilith was the original woman. I don't know whether or not she was created at the same time as Adam. I would imagine that the first Homo sapiens were androgynous or hermaphroditic, but they were definitely not masculine. The masculine cannot give birth to the feminine. We women are the gateway for all. We're the gatekeepers for all human life. Luna is saying, I'm a male to female transgender woman who celebrates womanhood. Well, you go, girl. You know what? When we talk about whether or not I would accept a man who wears a skirt, etc., right? Oh, you know what? I never talked about my point. But when we started talking about that, right? I realized that we shoot our own selves in the foot as minorities, as people who want advocacy for our causes. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not lesbian. I'm not transgender. I don't identify with gender dysmorphia or any of those things. I don't. And you know what? Oh, let's talk about masculine and feminine ratios. There's a sliding scale of heterosexuality. There's a sliding scale, and we each fall at different places on this sliding scale. There's some people who enjoy the masculine for sex, and there are people who enjoy the feminine for the relationship. There's people who enjoy expressing themselves femininely, who are either male or female. In man and woman, we both have masculine and feminine in both of us. There's that yin and the yang. With me, I happen to fall very high on the scale in terms of heterosexual. I don't have bisexual or homosexual desires. It's so small. I'm really skewed really high up in that way. And even with me not having any of those desires or inclinations, I feel that it's important for me to speak out for those who do, and their right to express themselves as they see fit. I'm especially embarrassed by black people. And I'm going to read this point and then read some more comments. Because black people as minorities in America, we expect or we want for people to feel our plight, feel our fight, and fight alongside us. People who don't identify with us to fight alongside us. But yet, a smaller marginalized group, when I saw black people attacking this boy, calling him all sorts of names, I was stunned. And I think that, I think my own ignorance, because I don't travel, I don't traverse through this world, my own ignorance, because I don't traverse through this world, I never knew it was so bad out there. When I saw black people, a marginalized group themselves, lambasting this boy, calling him FAGGOT and all of these things, and talking about what should happen to this boy, and I'm like, this is the problem right there. Why does this boy not have a right to exist? How is it that we expect for white people to treat us humanely? Why do we expect for people to pick up arms and fight in our fight when we're fighting against other people's right to exist as they see fit? I don't understand this hypocrisy. And they say that there was a very smart brother has created a broadcast. They created a blog post last year or the year before where they were talking about how black men are the white people of black people. And basically because you can't rationalize with a black man against something that he sees to be in the way that he sees to be it. And you have to make all of these comparisons for him in the same way that you have to make these comparisons for white people. You have to make these comparisons so that they can empathize and kind of see things from your point of view. And it's shocking to me to see black people who are a marginalized group in this country, who have had violence enacted upon them, who have had their rights diminished and have been subjugated, turn against a smaller minority group and speak about this minority group's right to not exist. Let me ask you guys this question, and I'm going to read some of the comments. Do we think that transgender people are going away? Do we think that homosexuality is going away? It's been here since the beginning of time. Like I said, the original human was most likely androgynous. When we talk about what side of history we want to be on, if we know that transgender people are not going away, which side of history do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of history that tried to squelch another person's right to exist? Do you want to be on that side of history? Or do you want to be on the side of history that allows people to be themselves and express themselves as they see fit? Where they're not, I mean, these are people who are behaving in a manner that is right for them, wearing clothes that they feel comfortable in. Let me, oh, I wanted to talk about Native Americans. Because someone said that traditional societies don't embrace gay and transgender. No, toxic misogynistic societies don't. Native Americans call transgender people twin spirit. And they look to them for shamanic and spiritual advice. Transgender people were highly revered, are highly revered in Native American customs and culture. Look it up. Not everybody hates transgender. So let's go through some of the comments now. Let's go through some of the comments. All right. So Marianne is saying, you are bringing up so many topics that need to be talked about. People don't get it. What never ceases to amaze me is how people feel that it's okay to say nasty and hurtful things about any topic. About any topic, any person, children. Nothing is safe from others' meanness. Too much importance on the external, not enough focus on who we really are and how we respect and care for each other. And that's so true. That is so true. It's like, when did we give ourselves such licenses to be mean and cruel? Now listen. I have no opinion about whether or not transgender is quote unquote right or quote unquote wrong. All I know is me, and whether or not my actions are in alignment with me being the highest expression of myself and who I incarnated to be. Does me saying F transgender people, is that in my highest, greatest good for myself and others around? Does it make me feel good? Does it uplift and empower other people? And if it doesn't, then why would I participate in that type of behavior? So you may not know or have an opinion on whether or not transgender and non-gender conformist is okay. But what about your actions? Do your actions make you feel broader, more expanded? Or do they make you feel bad? I can't imagine that anybody who's calling a child a faggot. I'm talking about an adult. I can't imagine that any adult who is calling a child a faggot for preferring to wear cotton clothes with butterflies on it. I can't imagine that that person feels good about themselves. I am a self-love specialist. And I know that when we attack others, we attack them because of something that's going on inside of us, a deficiency, a vacancy that's happening inside of us. Let me continue with the comments. Okay, so Jara is saying femininity is lesser. It's shameful to be feminine because feminine is less. Yes. All over this globe, there's so many different doctrines that talk about feminine being less. I stopped being a Christian because of the abusive texts that they had in the Bible about women. It didn't resonate with me. All of these Jezebels and Mary Magdalenes and all of this and that, it didn't resonate with me. I couldn't. Charlize, and then Adrian is saying Charlize Theron is a white devil, point blank, period. Okay. She may be a white devil. That white devil is in care of a child who is expressed. It's like, I remember I read this post one day that talked about, well, how did we know whether God was God and the devil was the devil and not reversed? How do we know that God is not Satan and that Satan is not God? Okay, so we could use words like devil. What does devil mean? When you have a mother who sees a child who is expressing that from the inside of their being that they want to wear cotton clothes with butterflies on it, and they allow that child, they have the grace to allow that child to flourish and to be, who is the devil? Who is the devil? The person who has kindness enough to let a child flourish, or the people who would want to squelch that? I say, judge a person by their actions. I don't care about the labels. I don't care about your labels. God, devil, I don't give a damn about those labels. Hear me. I give a damn about your actions. I give a damn about your actions. What are your actions saying? We got far too many people in this country claiming to be Christian, but they turn a blind eye to people who are homeless on the street, who are coming into the country abused. They turn a blind eye to people who need help. And I am embarrassed for the Christians who allow the right wing to call their false doctrines and false equivalent. I'm embarrassed for Christians who allow these people to claim Christianity as what it is that they represent. Every church should be turning over in this country and standing up for what true Christianity is. Because I know on my life as I speak here today, if Jesus Christ were to come to this country, if Joseph were pregnant, if Joseph were with Mary, who were pregnant with the Son of God himself, according to the Bible, the Son of God, were pregnant with Jesus himself, they wouldn't let her into this country. They would tell her to stay back in the Middle East and die. They wouldn't let her come into this country to give birth to Jesus. That is not Christianity. Hear what I'm saying. Let me continue on. Jara Matthews says, because black people aren't different. Of the people who've been persecuted, only a percentage learn peace. I don't really understand what that means. And Julie is saying, my eyebrows look great. Thank you. And Jara is saying, and they're the ones who didn't need to be persecuted to learn. Marie Kelly is saying, society may teach that femininity is lesser, but it's not the truth. Oh no, femininity is not lesser. That is not the truth. That is a lie. Michelle is saying parts of India as well. Jara is saying, it's absurd you'd even need to say that. Where are we that someone needs to say that? I'm reading the comments after my commentary, so I don't know what you're referring to. And Jara is saying, I've seen unimaginable cruelty from girls, yes, but violent cruelty from boys. And they are not the same boys mothers think are angels and women put on a pedestal. In this world, keeping your eyes open is a duty, and it's not easy. We so often color perception with want. Our first priority must always be seeing reality, whether it's easy or not. And Mary Ann is saying, a mouth will say anything, the heart speaks the volumes. Yes. Darlene is saying, say it. Folks need to really understand that Christianity really is. Jesus had no parts of Christianity. Christianity hijacked Jesus. Thank you. And Jara is saying, but you go spreading the message of empowering others. The test is when you're feeling low. When you feel low, can you be strong enough to let another be great? When you can have enough perspective to allow another to be great, when you feel low, you've mastered yourself and are practicing peace on a personal level. Yes, and I believe that. I believe that. So I think I've expressed all of my points and opinions. We've been on for 41 minutes. So I'm going to get out of here right now. I'm going to get out of here, but I'm going to give my closing remarks and closing statements, and we'll probably come back out and talk about this another day. So Cap is saying my hair is on point and makeup flawless. Thank you. I didn't even put on makeup today. I just put on some concealer, and I actually put on face paint over my eyes to save money from how expensive the eyeliner was. This is the perfect smoky eye. Thank you. You know, children's face paint, that's exactly what I put on over my eyes. It saved me lots of money. Go get you some. It's $8 for a whole bunch of different colors. But yeah, so because when I did that Wakanda Forever face paint with the white dots, it also came with black in the kit. So I'm now using it for my smoky eye look. So yes. So I'm going to end on this, right? Get on the right side of history. Think to yourself. Because I remember I wasn't for gay marriage. Back in the early 2000s or the early 2000 decades, I wasn't for gay marriage. I was like, men and women should be the ones who get married. What is marriage anyway? Why can't they be happy with civil unions? Blah, blah, blah. I wasn't. And then somebody said to me, you know, you have these arguments online and you feel like you're not getting through to the person. I think that we have to remain pliable. I think we have to remain, why are we getting into these arguments if there's no way to be convinced anyway? Somebody said, I was watching this video, it was the Young Turks actually, and they talked about being on the right side of history. How gay people were not going to go away and their desire for marriage is not going to go away. But when all is said and done, gay marriage would be legalized. And whether or not we were going to be on the right side of history when it does. Did we fight for their rights or against theirs? And I decided at that point that I would switch my perspective. And I hope that there's somebody who watches this video who will take the time to think about their own perspective. Why does it bother us so much for a boy to be feminine? What is it that we have against the feminine? If anything, the feminine is healing. The feminine is nurturing. When you look around at these mass shootings, these are not effeminate men. They talk about they don't want transgender in the bathroom because they're going to be molesting children. First of all, let me say this. You guys know that I'm a YouTube creator and you guys know that I'm in the 100K club. You see my plaque back there? Yes. So I have access to the YouTube space. Both here in New York, and I have access to the YouTube space in New York, London, and LA. They have bi-gender bathrooms. I don't know how else, bi-gender bathrooms. In the bathrooms, both men and women go in there. Heterosexual men, homosexual men, heterosexual women, homosexual, all types, people of all different, the bouquet of different expressions of people's gender normative behavior, etc. Go into the bathrooms there. Ask me once, has there ever been any type of problem? I get changed in the bathroom. I put on my makeup in the bi-gendered bathroom. Never any problem. People go to the bathroom to relieve their waste. They relieve their waste and then they leave the damn bathroom. People are talking about transgender people are going to be molesting children. First of all, pedophiles are the ones who are attracted to children, not a person who says, you know what, I feel as if I were born into the wrong body. What does that have to do with abusing a child? And then also, all pedophiles don't molest children. There are people, pedophilia is the attraction towards children. An abuser abuses. Nothing in between. Only an abuser abuses. That's it. That's it. And so Darlene is saying one day someone will talk about the history of marriage wasn't based on, it wasn't. The history of marriage was not based on love. So yeah, so we use bi-gendered bathrooms at the YouTube space and there's never any problem. What is the big deal? Why are we policing where people go and squirt out their urine or drop out their two deuces? Why are we in people's digestive tract like that? Why can we not allow people to go to the, it's like, why do we feel that human beings are so out of control that if they go to the bathroom that they won't be able to control themselves from being able to attack another person if a man sees a woman in the bathroom? Most men are not deviants. Most men are just regular, normal human beings. It's unfortunate that most violent crimes are committed by men. Most of the violence that exists in society exists at the hands of males. When we talk about the black community, when was the last time you saw a transgendered person in a skirt and a flawless fire wig running around with an Uzi, squirting bullets at people, chopping down and mowing down other people's children? When was the last time we saw a transgender person committing some mass violent crimes? If anything, the rate of transgender suicide is so tremendously high in this country. It's like, when I see that little boy, Charlize Theron's son, in his little cotton outfit with his butterflies, I think that he's brave. He's much braver than most men. Most men don't have, you think men only want to wear plaid, navy blue, and Dickies? You think men don't want to put color on their nails even if it's just black? You think men don't want to express themselves in ways other than what society has dictated? You think a man doesn't like anything shiny? Nothing? Not a sparkly nothing? You think that there's no man out there who likes that or who would resonate with it? It's like we don't give men much latitude. We don't give heterosexual men much latitude to express themselves with hair, clothing, colors. It's like you have to be this. You have to be this in order for us to respect you as heterosexual. You have to fit into these confines, but you don't think that a man would want to have on something pink or lavender or something. And then we also have to remember that every man is different. Remember I said that there's a sliding scale. I happen to be very high up here in the sliding scale, but all throughout society there are people who are here in the middle. They like either or, and then who go for different. Why is it that we expect for people to be, and I suspect that a lot of the people who are having a lot of I feel like a lot of the people who are having a lot of these issues are experiencing some things themselves that they don't have the bravery to speak out loud. I think that a lot of the people who are bashing that boy don't have the bravery that he has. And so when we talk about whether or not Charlize Theron is a devil and all this other stuff, like I said, I don't care about the label. She's a devil who is kind. If we were to talk about, and then we'll get out of here because I feel like I'm repeating some points again, and I want to get this video up around the net, and I don't want it to be too long. We've already been going for 48 minutes. She's a devil who's considerate of her child, a devil who's kind, a devil who allows their child to express themselves to the fullest expression of their internal glory. So if I had to choose between being amid that type of devil or the type of people who claim to be Christian who were calling that child a faggot, I would choose devil any day. I don't care about the word. What is it that you are doing as a human being? Get on the right side of history. And on that note, oh my goodness, I was about to get out of here, but my gracious, the comments are pouring, and I'm going to read these comments and then I'm out. Okay? So Tommy is saying there are all kinds of perverts. No one can tell what a pervert will do. There will be a separate bathroom for perverts. She happens to be an airhead that don't know what she is talking about. I have no idea what that person is talking about, but I will say this. I don't know who this person is calling an airhead, whether you're calling me an airhead or whether you're calling somebody who attacked Charlize Theron an airhead, right? Calling people names, this is what I'm saying. Look at your actions. Calling people names, demeaning them, belittling them. If this person is talking about me, I may be a quote-unquote airhead, but I'm an airhead with degrees and certifications. And I'm an airhead who is kind. And I'm an airhead who is fair to other people. I can be whatever you say, because when a person calls me something, it is coming from their own projection, projecting who it is that they are onto me, and I don't take that on. You can call me what you choose, because at the end of the day, I define me. Just like that little boy will define him. I define me, and I have the bravery to stand up here and speak out against, you know what? Last night, I know I keep saying I'm going to end this. Last night, I was reading this fascinating article. Fascinating. It was this blog post about corsets that pregnant women wore in the Victorian era. Yes, they wore corsets, even though their stomachs were growing. And it talked about the differing views that we had throughout history. One of the paintings, there was a woman who was pregnant and she was smiling. And according to this blog post, it was undignified for a woman to smile in a portrait. She were to have a straight face or a neutral expression. It was undignified. And this woman in her photo smiled, though everybody around her would call her undignified for doing so. And now, 400 years later, we're taking selfies with the biggest smiles of all. And it's like, so these tastes and these things that we impose upon others, they're situational and they're societal, they're cultural, and they change as the times change. Doggone it. Do you have the strength? Do you have the strength to stand up against other people for what it is that you believe in? Do you have the strength to buck against society and say, you know what? This is what I want to smile. I want to show some ankle. I want to show an arm. Do you have it in you to buck against the system? We talk about the racism in this country. How many people didn't have the courage to stand up against slavery when it was going on? And what about the people who did? When we talk about being on the right side of history, I choose. Despite what anybody may say and what pedigrees or religions they claim that they will come from, I choose. I choose to stand with a person's right to be who it is that they choose to be. I choose that. I choose. And so let's go forward. Darlene says, yep, they're afraid to live their own truth. Stephanie says, he's not my son, but there's a difference between men making those decisions and children making those decisions. And according to what it is that if you saw the smile on that boy's face, he was happy. Very, very happy. And then also, decisions about what? Clothes do not determine sexuality. A person can even be transgender. A person can be transgender. Transgender only means the feeling that you feel, the body that you feel that you should be born in. That has nothing to do with sexuality. A man can transition, a male can transition from male to female and still date women. It's about what they feel that their body should look like, how they feel that they should show up in this world and in what form. So let me ask you that question. Is it okay for a man to be with a woman? What if that man himself feels like a woman? I mean, they're not in a homosexual relationship because it's a man and a woman, right? However, one man, the male, feels that his body was meant to be born feminine. So then you shouldn't have a problem with that relationship. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't have a problem with anybody's relationship. I don't care. All right. Darlene is saying some adults need to let the children to teach them. Adults break children's spirits. Exactly. Darlene said Handmaid's Tale is real. Louis C. said yes, absolutely. Mary Ann said I had a very good friend years ago who loved to dress up and he had very good taste and an eye for fashion. We were out one night and someone said something unnecessary, vulgar to him. Long story short, oh my goodness, he was extremely well put together this night, walking like a queen in those stilettos, and he whooped that fool like mashed potatoes without ever messing up his mascara. Lord have mercy. The point is, don't judge, live and let live. The earth is a big enough place for all of us to have our own little piece of it. Good show, thanks. And Darlene is saying, I agree. And Tommy is saying, I apologize for calling you an earhead. We all have a right to believe what we want. There is more to what I said. So, and on that note, I'm not reading anymore, and I'm gonna end on responding to that. All right. I accept your apology, but really it is not my apology to accept. You got to accept your apology. What does your apology mean to you? Who is it that you are creating yourself to be in this lifetime? And you are creating yourself to be a person who lambasts and lashes out at other people by calling them names. And then you also have come back to create yourself as the person who apologizes after. I implore you to accept your own apology and figure out what it is that you're going to do about it in this lifetime. Who is it that you choose to be? I represent myself. I don't need your apology. It's you give the apology for yourself to make yourself feel however it is that you need to feel on this broadcast. I didn't accept that. I don't accept other people's projections onto me. How do you feel about you? I get, as a self-love specialist, for those of you, oh listen, subscribe to my mailing list. I'm in the final stages of writing my book on self-love right now. It's so far untitled, but get on the mailing list so that you'll know when it's out, right? As a self-love specialist and a person who counsels daily, I counsel people daily. And I talk to people who have all different types of issues on the spectrum of issues. And I know, Tommy Battle, that you do not feel good about yourself. There's a conflict that you have inside of yourself. Because you say things and less than 10 minutes later you come back to apologize about them. There's a conflict because you are not speaking your truth and honoring yourself in the ways that you choose to show up in your highest expression of yourself, and you're battling with this conflict inside of you. I don't know if battle is your real name or not, but I feel that it's indicative of this battle that's going on inside of you, where you don't know who it is that you want to be. I am creating who it is that I choose to be, and I am comfortable with what it is that I express. Are you comfortable with what you express and who it is that you choose to be? Like I said, get on the right side of history. Transgender people have a right to exist, and they are not going anywhere. They are not going anywhere. So why participate in a set of behaviors, actions, words against people who are not going to go away? How do you regulate yourself in the face of people who refuse to leave, who have a right to be here, a right to take up space? How do you then deal with this world with gay and transgender and gender nonconformist people in it? How do you deal with that world? Are you equipped to deal with the changes that are coming upon us? Are you? And on that note, I am out, everyone. Give me a hug. We had a hard conversation today, but give me a hug, and then I'll see you guys the next time that we broadcast live. Make sure that you join my mailing list so that you'll know when I'm putting up videos. Hug me, hug me, hug me. Hug me, hug me, hug me. I love you guys. Love, 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 love. Okay, I love you guys. Go out there and love one another. But most importantly, what? Love yourself. Love yourself. And when you love yourself, you allow other people to be themselves and express themselves. When you love yourself, you allow other people to exist. Love yourself. Love yourself. And that goes for everyone on this broadcast, transgender or not. All right. I love you guys very, very much. Goodbye, everyone. I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure that you go to TonyaTko.com. I will put it down here in the comments. Go to Tonya with an O. Don't misspell it and be like, I couldn't get there. It's TonyaTko.com. TonyaTko.com, and subscribe to my mailing list, okay? And you'll know when my book is out. I love you guys very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you all so much. Peace.